My question was about process. I was really curious about the process that you went through both in the villages and then the process of actually creating the products that you knew were going to be instrumental in helping those particular communities.
So I'll say a little bit about that, and then I'll give you some context, just like what you were saying. Everything for me begins by talking to poor people and learning about their lives. In the Out of Poverty book, I say, if you want to solve any problem, go to where the action is, talk to the people who have the problem, and actually listen to what they have to say, and learn everything there is to learn about the specific context of the problem. Those are the first 3 steps, and that's what I do. So in the work with IDE, we focused, there are 1.2 billion people in the world who live on less than $1 a day. 850 million of them live in rural areas in developing countries and make their income from farming, primary income from farming. They have other sources of income. So here's what I do, the process. I'll go to a village in Nepal and I'll interview 20 people. I'll spend at least a half a day interviewing one family. And I ask them everything that you can imagine about their lives. And I walk with them. This is a farm family. They make their living from a 1-acre farm split into 4 or 5 quarter-acre plots. I'll walk with them through their fields. I want to know at the end of that half day, where does all their income come from? What do they spend it on? What do they eat? How far do their kids go to school? What clothes do they wear? What are their dreams? What do they feed their dog? I mean, everything. And this is not difficult if you're truly curious about it. And usually I have an interpreter, but the thing about learning this is not about the words, it's about what you see with your eyes. So it has to do with ruthless curiosity. If they're making their living from farming, I walk through their fields and I count how many vegetables there are in a row and how many rows there are. And I ask them what they expect to make, but I've already been to the market and talked to the traders in the market, so I know what those things are actually selling for. So if they think I'm a tax collector, they're going to tell me that they're making nothing. If they want to please their friend who's doing the interpretation, they're going to tell me that they're just doing great. Talk to another 10 or 15 farmers for separately, not in a group, for 1 or 2 hours. But you got the baseline. At the end of that time, that usually takes 5 days. I've never spent 5 days without coming up with a breakthrough product.
Really?
Because it comes naturally from talking to them about their problems. They have a problem. What is the solution? It usually is radically affordable. For farmers, it often starts with water control. Because in the dry season, they can grow off-season crops and make more money. So it's like that. Does that give you a sense of the process?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So it's asking the same questions again and again and again and learning. And these people are stubborn, funny, courageous survival entrepreneurs. They're not chopped liver. And people don't know about that. And that's the big problem with the big World Bank things and so on.
Tomorrow I'm going to meet with one of my friends who's a huge PR guy, and I said, we could put this team together, we could have scientists, and we could have this person, this person, this person, we could all talk about how to do this, and And Paul says, why don't you go to a store and start asking people who walk out with their 12 packs of plastic water bottles, why don't you try and talk them into going back to the store and returning the bottles and see if you can do that. It's kind of obvious, right? It's start by asking people. So that's a great example of the process. That we don't, it's not even obvious to us that this process is
to me, it's applicable to everything. So Taylor wants to get rid of plastic bottles. But that means, in my experience, it's tough for people to stop doing what they've become accustomed to doing. So Evian is nonsense, in my view.
Yeah.
But it's status, it's a bunch of stuff, and people are used to it. So if you're going to stop using bottles, I mean, your statement to me was, we used to, when you were a kid, you used to have lots of water and you had no bottled water and you'd get along fine. So why can't we go back to that? Well, the real practical problem is, how do you get people to stop buying bottled water? And Taylor said to me very modestly, she said she's the best salesman in the world.
That's me.
And so I said, okay. So go to the place where people buy Evian and sell them on stopping to buy it. And we have a bet.
That's right, we have a bet. It's a big bet.
But she thought success would be 1 out of 10. Would be
1 out of 10 into
Great stuff.
but the thing of it is,
Isn't success really understanding why they're buying it in the first place? And then
well, but the way to do that, don't do a lot of academic stuff. Go to the place where people are
Yeah, that's what
buying
I'm
it
saying,
and
asking
talk to
them why
them.
they're buying it in the first place.
Ask them why they buy it.
Okay.
If you try to talk them out of buying it, you'll find out pretty quick. But the issue is, why do they buy it? And you got to understand that. Never mind all the fancy stuff. Why do people buy that in the first place? And you got to talk to a bunch of those people and find out. That's all there is to any social problem, as far as I'm concerned. And it's amazing how many things come out of that process.